You can see my screen, right?
Yes, Venkatesh.
Okay. As we all know, today's session is all about the Flex Gateway. So before directly jumping on the Flex Gateway, right, we just wanted to give you a quick highlight on the Universal API management. Okay. Take much time on the Universal API management. We'll mostly talk about Flex Gateway. We'll quickly cover the Universal API management features in 5 to 10 minutes, not more than that. Okay. So first of all, thanks Vikas and all other organizers for giving me this opportunity. Thanks a lot for that. And quick intro about myself, right? This is Venkatesh, as I said earlier. I'm a senior consultant at Infosys. This is not the updated profile. Sorry for that. I have completed almost all the certification except the MuleSoft Professional, which was there in Mule 3, and the recently launched uh, architecture certificate, which is around the Catalyst, right? So that too I'm yet to attempt. That's pretty much about myself. So let's get started. So this is the agenda of today's session. So as I said, right, I'll quickly cover 5 minutes about Universal API management. So before understanding what is Universal API management, we'll talk about the need of the Universal API management. Then we'll relate that Universal API management capability with AnyPoint Platform. And then we'll talk about AnyPoint Flex Gateway, how we install it in the connected mode, and we'll set up a replicas. That replicas. Okay. In the need of universal API management, right? I have just created one hypothetical organization. Let's say this is a hypothetical organization which is distributed across many regions. Okay, and each region has their own dedicated or own preferred API management tool. Okay, so as you can see, right, this is one region, they have their own API management tool. This is the other. So like that. So when this organization has many tools and some other region wants to consume any existing API, so it's bit difficult for them to discover. They may face a lot of challenges. Okay, so one of the challenges is the discovery of the API. So if the consumer of the application, if they want to see if any existing functionality is available, so they have to go to different API management toolset and try to understand that particular feature is available or not. If it's not available, then they will request for business and they will raise a request with the development or delivery team. Okay, so it's really difficult to discover for consumer as well as internal teams also. Sometimes within a team also we first identify whether is there any available API which fulfill our requirement, right? Then each API management tool required its own dedicated skill set, not only for development role, for various roles, right? Such as operations, support, and dev, right? So these are the main key issues which definitely increase the organization cost. Okay. So in this scenario, what the key point we can get it right? The because of this different API management tool, we are unable to find a single place where we can discover all our APIs, where we can manage everything into a single page from the API management, along with the monitoring and all, right? So we'll see how this particular problem statement get resolved with the universal API management. But before going there, let's on high level understand what is universal API management. Okay, as you can see on the screen, right, it's just the ability to open the scope of full lifecycle management capabilities to API regardless of where they have built in. Okay, the architecture in which they are implemented and the environment where they are hosted. So regardless of the language where they are built in, regardless where they are deployed, right? So it's a single place where we can manage that. Okay, so there are some key features, right? As in, it's offer a unified portal where you can discover all available APIs. Then a unified portal, a single place to manage all your API regardless of where they have built. Is built in .NET, Java, then the Mule or any other technology. Then it should have a consistent standard quality, API quality at the design time, starting from the design time itself. After that, the unified portal, a single place, a single portal where we can enforce all security policies. Then the single place to monitor and do your analytics, a single place where you can achieve all this thing. And at the end, you can discover, right, that API for async APIs also, not only for real time, but as well as the async API. So these are just high level capabilities of this, some few of the universal API management capabilities. Okay. So now let's try to relate that capabilities with our AnyPoint platform. Okay. So in AnyPoint platform, we know about AnyPoint exchange, a single place where we can asset any type, we can upload any type of assets, right? Whether it's a HTTP, it's a RAML, it's a custom policies or any custom kind of asset, and a single place where we can discover all that asset. Okay. So that's about any bond exchange. Then we have API manager, a single place where you can manage all your API. We can manage Mule 4, Mule 3, service mesh, and the flex gateway, the non-Mule applications, right? Basically can be managed via flex gateway. Async API specification. So before this, we could only manage or create a API specification for real-time API REST API. Now there is a capability on the design center on an exchange. We can have the async API specification. So only one thing to remember here: we could create a specification, we can publish it to exchange, but we cannot use it within a code like what we use, like we use a raml, right? In the same way, we cannot use in the code. If we try to use it, you will see an error. So this is just to help consumer or the developer to understand what all operation would be exposed from this particular async API specification, and how the request and the response would look like. After that, we have API governance capability, right? So at the design time itself, we can apply a standard rule set on all our API specification. Let's say if it's an experience layer, all my experience layer should be protected with the OAuth policy. All my process and system layer should be protected with the client enforcement policy. So all my APIs are following a best practices or not. So all that level of rule set we can apply at the design time itself, so later we could avoid any kind of rework. So that capabilities API governance will provide to us. After that, a single place where we can monitor all our Mule as well as non-Mule application through AnyPoint Flex Gateway. And the last one, the AnyPoint Flex Gateway used to manage non-Mule applications. Okay, so this is on very high level the universal API management on AnyPoint platform look like. Okay. So now coming back to our problem statement with this particular AnyPoint platform
Sorry to
solution.
interrupt you, Venkatesh. Can you just hide that? It's coming in about meetups, sharing your screen. Just hide that,
Oh,
please.
sorry.
Thank you.
Yeah, my bad. Thanks, Vikas. Yeah. So what I was saying, right? We saw problem statement in the first slide, right? Now with the AnyPoint platform universal API management solution, the architecture look like this, where all region would be having a single gateway, single AnyPoint platform MuleSoft gateway, where they can manage Mule as well as non-Mule application, through which the APIs are very easily discovered because we have a exchange, a single place where everyone can come and discover the APIs. That will definitely increase the API reusability. And then a single place to manage the API, the API management, right? API management where API manager where we can manage all these APIs, and definitely it will be decrease in the organization cost, right? So this hypothetical scenario I just put up here just for on high level understanding. Okay, it's nothing to do with any real time scenario here, but yeah, this is how we try to solve the issue here. Okay. So I think that's pretty much about universal API management. Now let's jump on to the main topic, AnyPoint Flex Gateway. So you must be already know about this, but still on high level, it's a lightweight standalone gateway that can serve as a proxy for any API. When I say any API, right, it can be Mule or non-Mule application also. But for Mule, we already have an embedded gateway, so we will not use Mule API production through this flex gateway. But for on non-mule API, we can go with the AnyPoint Flex Gateway. Okay, so on very high level, how the AnyPoint Flex Gateway look like? Okay, so this Flex Gateway can be installed on any one of the available operating system supported operating system. So as of now on Windows, we cannot set up the Flex Gateway. These are the available flavors, supportable flavors available at this moment. Okay, so once you have installed the Flex Gateway, that will synchronize with our AnyPoint platform. Through the AnyPoint platform, you can manage your APIs, as in you can deploy your APIs, you can apply the policies on that particular API. Then through AnyPoint monitoring, you can see the logs, you can analyze the traffic, incoming, outgoing traffic, you can analyze the error codes, and from the runtime manager, you can visualize the metadata of your Flex gateway. You can see the state of the Flex gateway, and these are our backend services, right? On top of which we are creating this particular wrapper. So now when any new external one, whenever any external one wants to access this particular system, they have to go via Flex gateway. Okay, and that Flex gateway is protected with let's say security policy, caching mechanism, logging policy, and so on. Okay, so this is on high level the Flex gateway functionality look like. Okay, so there are basically two modes gateway: connected mode and local mode. Through connected mode, in the connected mode, everything can be managed from the API manager itself. Once you have installed the Flex gateway on the, let's say, Linux operating, that metadata can be visualized on the runtime manager, policy applied from the API manager, logs can be seen. So everything can be managed from the runtime plane itself. Okay, but in local mode, we have to configure all that in the declarative config file. So once you have installed the Flex gateway, you have to type in what all policies you need to have on your API. You need to mention the API's details as an implementation URL and so on. Okay, so everything we have to do it through a config file here in local mode. So mostly this is used in the preferable CI/CD approach. Okay, so these are the two mode available in the Flex gateway. And on this is connected mode and local mode look like. So in connected mode, as I said, right, everything will be managed from this runtime API and AnyPoint monitoring. But in the local mode, there is a disconnect. All things are managed from the config file. Okay, so this is on high level local mode and connected mode looks like. So now let's jump on the installation part. Okay, so first what we'll do, right, we will configure Flex gateway in connected mode. We'll configure the one replica. Once the connected mode with one replica has been configured, we will create a replicas. We'll try to access both the replicas with their individual URLs, and then we'll see how that individual URLs can be managed via load balancer. Steps that we are going to follow is we configure Flex gateway, we'll deploy the API, we'll secure the API, and monitor the API traffic. And once we configure the multiple replica, the architecture will look like this. We will be having multiple replicas here, but here, as you can see, right, we will be invoking that replica with different their own instance URL. Okay, so consumer has to do some kind of a load balancing at their end. Just to avoid that, what we have came up with here, we have used AWS load balancer here. So customer will be calling that load balancer, and through that we will be distributing that request to a respective replicas. Okay, so we will see that now. So let's jump on to the demo.
In the meanwhile, guys, if you have any questions, please post in the chat.
Create instance. Usually beforehand I should have I
would create it, but due to some do that today. Flex gateway, let's say demo one. So I'm going to use Amazon Linux 2 AMI here. So I have already created a key value pair. I'm going to use that only. I'll just switch back to some other network. Give me 1 minute, Vikas.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yep.
It's not. It's switched.
In the meantime, he joins back via the network. Any questions, guys? You can post in the chat. Are you back, Venkatesh? No, Venkatesh, we are not able to hear you. I think some network connectivity issue with Venkatesh. Is joining back in a minute.
Can you hear me?
Yes,
Vikas?
Venkatesh. Yes, yes.
Yeah,
Yep.
sorry. I'm
Audible.
back now.
Yep.
Sorry, some
No,
network glitch here.
yep, no worries. Yeah, let's continue.
I hope you can see my screen now.
Yes.
One. So we'll create a 2 EC2 instance here. So for our 2 replicas. I'm just creating the first one now. I already have a key value pair with me. I'm just going to select that one, and I have already created a security group. I'm going with that one only, and let's launch it. So meanwhile, the first this instance get ready, right? Let me just create another one also quickly. I'm just doing the same steps what we have done for the first instance. If you want to see how it works, I have created one blog around it also. That also you can refer later. That is there in the PPT. So now we can see the first instance is in the running state. So what I'll do, right, I'll just copy this public IP. Let's log into this instance via putty. I'm just changing this to the IP what we have, and I have opened it. To user. Okay, and meanwhile, I'll just go to my runtime manager. I have created this in the morning. Another the Flex gateway that is for a load balancer, because configuring load balancer will take some time. Okay, if time didn't permit, I'll show you the demo of the load balancer with this only. But now let's try to add the new one. So I went in the Linux. I have selected Amazon Linux 2, right? I'm going to follow the same steps, whatever is given here. Meanwhile, it's installing, right? So before running this particular second command, so for this particular config folder, we need to adjust certain permissions. Okay, sometimes sudo directly doesn't work with this flexctl command whenever we are trying to update this directory, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm going to explicitly update the permission first, and then I'll run this command. Okay, and the here I'll just say flex gateway demo 2, the name. Let's see if flex gateway is installed. Yeah, it's installed. Now the config files permission has been updated. I'll run the second command. So as you can see, right, it's the same command here where I have just removed the sudo and I have updated the name. Okay, so I'm going to run that command here. Enter. So now I'm going to start the gateway. I'm just following the same command what MuleSoft has provided here. Okay, so now let's go back and just refresh this page. Let's see if this flex gateway is reflecting here. We got some message, error message, 1 minute. Agent trust history of type R. So at the time of flex gateway creation, we got some error. Let me just look at it quickly. People agent registry of type 400. Payload failed to create as registration token has. Okay, so the token what I have here, right, that token got expired. So I have copied a command from my notepad, that what I copied in the morning, right? So what I'll do, I'll just copy this one. So the token will get automatically generated dynamically each time whenever we go to that page. Let me just have this name here. Remove the sudo. Let's copy and give it a try. Let's see how it goes. Okay, so it seems, yeah, it started. So it configured it. Now let's start the gateway. I'm running this command. Okay, let's go back and we can see the demo 2 has been created. Okay, so as we can see, we just have a single replica over here. Okay, so let's try to hit this API. First, let's try to configure this API in API manager. Then we'll jump on to the replicas part. Okay, so what I'm going to do, I'm going to configure the http bin org here as an implementation URL. So let's deploy the application. I'm going to add a new API. Let's use replica demo 2. No, I'm going to create a new one. Replica demo v1. Okay, I'm going with the HTTP for now. I'm just going to provide some details around the implementation URL and all. Let it load. Yeah, so my it's 80 path let's say it's a V1 gateway demo, flex gateway. Let me just do it V3. I have already have V1 flex gateway. Okay, so this is a path I'm giving here. Now that's about it here. In the next screen, we'll give the implementation URL. That is nothing but the HTTP bin. I'm going to protect this. I'm treating this HTTP bin as my backend downstream application, which I'm going to secure with different policies here. Okay, so I guess that's it. Let's go to next. We will review everything. I just copy this thing for my reference. Okay, let's save and deploy. So in few seconds, we could see the status change to active. Let's refresh the page. So now we can see it's active. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, I'm going to get the public DNS name for this one. And I'll just add that to my URL, the base path. I'll copy that. And in the postman, I'm just going to make a get call to this one. I just wanted to validate whether the gateway is up and running and it's accepting the request or not. Let's give it a few seconds. So by default, the timeout in the Flex gateway is 15 seconds. If we are not getting that, we will get an error. So there is a workaround to increase the timeout. I'll explain about that also. This is the first time we are deploying on this, right? So maybe that's why it's taking a time. So now as you can see here, right, we are getting a response back from our instance. So we can verify that with this IP, whatever IP we are getting, right? This is a public IP of that instance. Let me just do a control H. So it's matching. So the response is coming from that particular instance. So what I'll do quickly, I'll just go there and I'll apply one basic authentication policy on that API, and then we'll start creating a replicas. If we give it a few minutes, it will stop our request because we are not passing any kind of user ID and password here. Yep, we can see it's a 401. So I'll not pass any details as of now because I want to show you if we call the other instance, are we getting the same error or not. Okay, so now what we'll do, right, we will create a replica. To create a replica, one important thing is that whatever config folder get created here, from that config folder we have to configure the registration.yaml file first. Okay, so for that what I'll do, I'll just open a WinSAP and let's log into that instance. Let's log into the EC2 instance. So the key is already configured in the backend. So I'm in. Okay, I'm going to store that registration file under v2 folder. Okay, I know this is the path, but let me just copy paste again. On the right hand side we see this is the correct path only, but to safer side I'm copy pasting it, and I'll just move that to my local. Okay, because the same file, once we install the Flex gateway on the new instance, same file we have to configure under config.d folder, and this is how the Flex gateway will sync up. Okay, so now we have already spin up the second instance. Let's log in into that instance now. That would be demo2. Okay, I'm just taking the IP. I'll open the another putty instance. I have opened the another putty instance. Let me load this configuration and then open it up. Accept EC2 user. So now what I'm going to do, right? I'm going to run the install command only first. I'll just go back. I'll try to get the install command for Linux 2, and I'll just move back. And in the new instance, I'm just going to run the install command. So once the installation done, I'm just going to update the permission also safer side, because it won't allow me to write that file in that folder if I don't update it. So let's wait for the installation to be completed, because I hope you are able to hear me, right?
Yes, yes,
Yeah,
all
because
good.
this got stuck, right? I got afraid. I'm just talking to myself.
Yep, 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 yep. All
Yeah,
good.
yeah, sure, cool. I have updated the permission now. Now let's go to WinSAP. I'll just copy the IP address again. Now let's go to WinSAP again. I'll open the new instance. Okay, so edit IP address, save, login. Yes. So now I'm in. Okay. So again, the same folder has been selected, but let me just copy it. So if you want to just cross verify from putty also, from there also will validate if we don't have anything here. So when I do ls, we can't find anything here. Okay. So I'm just moving this file. Okay. Now if I do ls, we could see registration YAML dot updated. Okay. So now what I'll do, I'll just uh, start the uh, server. Okay. Let me just go back to the gateway and get the command. So all the commands I'm getting it from here only. I'm not going anywhere else. Okay, I'm just going to the MuleSoft portal to get that command, and I'll just create start. Okay, now let's go to gateway. Okay, I guess I have copied the wrong file, guys. Here, if you see, right, it got added replica here. So let me see the source folder. So, so there are two instances, right? So I copied file from v1, so that's why it got added into some other thing. Okay, what I'll do, I'll just delete this registration file. I'll go to v2, which we have just copied right from the another instance. I'll move that here. I'll just do a kickstart. Let's see if that will reflect that here. I'm expecting under demo 2 we should have a 2 replicas. Let's see how it goes. So unfortunately that the for the third one only it's going okay, guys. So sorry for that. I need to spin up another instance. Sorry, I messed this up. What I'll do, right, I'll just delete this one, or let's wait for a minute. Sometimes it reflect after some time. Okay, what I'll do, right, I'll just create a new instance. So let's launch it. Let's go here. I'll just close all this thing. And it's meanwhile it's getting ready, right? Let me make sure I'm copying the correct file or not. Again, it's in the v2. It's a demo2 only. Okay, so this is the correct file. Let it started. Yeah, I'll just close other tabs. Create a new one. EC2 user. Linux 2. Let's copy this. Installing the Flex Gateway again here. Okay, meanwhile it's opening. Let me open it up, the new one. Demo 3's path I'm copying here. Save. Login. Yes. So now again it came back to v1. So this time I'll go to v2 and just move that file. Before moving again, I need to update the permission of the folder. So let me cross verify it's replica demo 2 only. Let me just add it here. Okay, I'm going to start the gateway now. Now let's see, hopefully this time we should see two replicas under demo 2. Yeah, so we can see two replicas under demo 2 now, which is just now get created. Okay, now what I'm going to do, I'll just get this path, the public DNS. I'll go back to Postman and I'll just delete this one and we'll call the same base path. So this will confirms that via different instance also we are trying to reach the same API, and it's restricting because of the basic auth policies. Okay, so as you can see, right, I'm hitting it on the different instance, so it's still not allowing my request because of the basic auth policy. So what I'll do, I'll give here the username and password. Okay, so as we can see, the requests are coming from the second instance, the second replica what we have created. Okay, so this is how we have created two replicas. But now you must have observed, right, we have to switch the URL to call to one another, the respective replicas basically, right? So we don't have any common URL which will do a load balancing and accordingly call the respective replicas, right? So to achieve that particular scenario, right, we have to bring up our own load balancer, and that's what I tried to show from this particular slide. Okay, so here what I'm doing, right, whenever the request comes in, it will come to my load balancer, and from that load balancer I'm routing to this particular replicas. Okay, so what I have done, I have created configuration in AWS itself. I am not going to create it from the scratch. I have a page to showcase that medium block, but I'll quickly show you what I have done. I have created a two target group here. This is for the Flex Gateway which I have created in the morning. Flex Gateway replica demo. Okay, which my
Right.
team. Okay, so it's updated time because we have I have mistakenly added the third replica here, right? So I have created a two target group here, target 1 and target 2, and each target group is associated with the respective instance. So we have two EC2 instance, right? So each target is associated with that respective instance that we can see here. Okay, and both our targets are healthy here. Now once the target group are available, that target group I'm going to map into my load balancer. So I have created this load balancer and I have added a rule. Whenever request comes on this particular load balancer on 80 port, it should it should redirect to this two particular target group, and each target group is associated with the dedicated what we say dedicated instance. Okay, so that load balancer URL, again we can get it from here only. When you click on this is the DNS name of that load balancer. So I'll quickly show you that, and I'll also go to the instance. Let me bring up any one of the request. Okay, so now when I trigger this one, right, these are the other two replicas what I have configured, right? So now here you can see this IP, this particular instance got the request, and from there we are getting a response, right? So this IP address is the IP address of that particular instance. So let's say through which for which instance that IP is belonging. So I have two instances, FGW1 and FGW2. So this IP must be from the W2. Okay. Now if I trigger the same thing again, sometimes it take a couple of seconds. So again the request is coming from the request is routed to a same instance. So IP is still same. So let's give it a couple of times. So now you can see, right, we got a different IP, and that IP should be belongs to the first one. So this is how when we create a multiple replicas, we can put a load balancer in front of it and we can balance the traffic between the multiple replicas. Okay. And at the start of the session, I told you about the response timeout, right? Sometimes we may get timeout issue from this particular replicas from the Flex gateway. So there is a workaround for that. Let me show you. So how we can increase that timeout. So if I go to the previous API manager, sorry, the API instance, and here I'm injecting one header. Okay, when you see the header configurations here, right? So this is a key. With the help of this particular request header, we can increase the timeout of the gateway. Okay, so this is the workaround we can use in case of we are facing a gateway issue or timeout issue from the Flex gateway. Okay, so I guess that's pretty much I wanted to show you how the Flex gateway get installed in the connected mode, and how the
Can
replicas
you
are
ping that,
configured.
Venkatesh, how to configure the load
I
balancer?
have
Can you ping that, yeah, the URL?
sure. I
Yeah.
can ping that. I have added in the here also in summary, in the reference section, right there they can find the link. But I'll just ping that.
Yep,
You want
ping.
the value only, right? The
Yep.
header injection value.
I just want
This
the
one, right?
link to that how to configure the load balancer basically.
Acha, how to configure the load
Yep.
balancer? That is there in my medium. I'll just ping that one.
Yep.
So this is the link where I have explained how to configure the multiple replicas. In the same link, you can find the reference link where I have explained how to configure the load balancer. Let me just go there. So this is the link where I have explained how to configure the load balancer. Okay, and these are the reference links I have attached to the PPT where we can see how to configure the Flex Gateway in local mode also, that I have explained here. Okay, and what all support is policies in the Flex Gateway. Not all the policies which are available in the MuleSoft are supported in the Flex Gateway. In this particular link, you will find the policy which are available and supported for Flex Gateway. Okay, so that's pretty much about my end, everyone, and Vikas. If you have any questions, let
Yep,
me
thank
know.
you. Yep, thank you so much, Venkatesh, for this insightful session. So, guys, if you have any questions, please post in the chat, and Venkatesh can take them up.